Now that you've added all your evidence, it's time to start explaining it. So what you're explaining is how each piece of evidence helps you to answer your main research question. There are lots of different sentence starters to get you started in the packet that you were given, but also you can Google sentence starters for explaining evidence, and it'll show you a bunch if you didn't already happen upon them when you were searching for the lead end stems or sentence starters. So, you want to consider explaining either what you can infer or conclude based on the evidence, how you can elaborate on the idea, giving more detail about why and how. Also, you can explain your personal experience or observations of the world that illustrate the idea in the evidence with a specific example. You absolutely should not be summarizing or just telling what the evidence says. If you say this means, and then just tell us what you think that is saying in different words, you're not analyzing anything. You're not adding to the ideas at all. That is summary. Um, Also, you want to make sure that you're not simply stating what you think it shows without explaining how exactly in detail you're thinking behind how that evidence shows that. That is your job to do in the explanation. That is what you're explaining. You're shooting for a 2-to-1 explanation to evidence ratio, which means that your explanation should be about as twice as long as the evidence itself. If you don't have that much to say, you should probably be looking for a different piece of evidence. It's probably not the best evidence to be using. All right, so with all those ideas in mind, I'm going to start showing you how this works out in a real paper. So again, we're starting in our outline, and we're going to go down to the first quote, which will be evidence. Evidence is blue. So I have the article 10 Things You Need to Know About Gen Z Explained. We are also accustomed to getting immediate feedback. A great example is online grading portals where we can get frequent updates on our academic performance. In the past, students sometimes had to wait weeks or longer to receive a test grade. So I have to say something about this evidence. I'm going to start just after the colon, after explanation of evidence A, which will be highlighted in orange. So that's where we're typing the explanation of this evidence. So the direction I'm going to go with this is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about maybe how this is helpful and how this might be harmful to Gen Zers. Okay, so I'm going to say the benefit of this immediate feedback is feedback in an educational setting is that it often leads to better academic performance. Students know right away if they are hitting the mark and can adjust to avoid making similar mistakes on future assignments or assessments. Students have less time to get behind before getting feedback about how they are doing. However, when feedback in instances where the feedback takes more time to get, then Zers often experience anxiety over having to wait and have trouble waiting patiently. Okay, so if I look at my evidence as compared to my explanation, you can see that it is longer than my evidence and it's almost twice as long. So that's what we're shooting for. That's where you should be going. So you can see this quote is much shorter, so my explanation does not have to be quite as long. So for this one, I'm going to say the most obvious effect. The stress about school shootings. This was statistics about stress about school shootings. So the direction that I'm going with this So the obvious, I want to talk about the effects of the stress. So the obvious effect of this stress is increased anxiety at school, which in turn impacts students' overall attitude toward school, as well as distracts students from learning. Another effect could be encouraging a YOLO, you only live once mentality in these Gen Zers who feel they could die any day. So, that is how you should be explaining your evidence. As you can see, this is twice as long as the quote that I originally used, so it is a sufficient explanation. All right, see you next time.